Welcome back to Fox Eyes on the Hill Live this Sunday morning. You know, the midterms saw smaller than expected gains for Republicans. And Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin is calling on the GOP to move away from just talking about problems to start offering solutions. We sat down with the governor this past week. Governor Glenn Youngkin, thanks for joining Fox 5.
Thank you so much for sitting down with me.
So what would you say were the takeaways from Election Day 2022?
Well, we didn't win as many races as we had hoped and really thought we were going to win. And there were still some monumental victories. I think the expected swing in leadership in the House will occur, but that's still not decided yet. And of course, we got the Senate outstanding. But I think we'll end up with divided government. Particularly in Virginia, we had 3 tough races that we were focused on. In the 2nd, the 7th, and the 10th, we knew they were going to be tight, and they were tight. And you know, as a Republican, I was very pleased that Jen Kiggins won. I was disappointed, of course, in the outcomes in the 7th and the 2nd. Although, you know, I reached out immediately to Congresswoman Spanberger and Wexton and congratulated them. And it's time to go to work. And the reality is, after an election, the results are communicated, and it's time to go to work. And that's exactly what we did last year. We went to work right away.
You campaigned heavily for Republicans in both the 7th and the 10th congressional districts, places where Democrats won this year. Your campaign for governor, though, really took flight in Loudoun County, where you talked a lot about parental involvement in schools. The Republican candidates this year tried to replicate that, but weren't able to do it. Is that something that Republicans can run on like you did with success, or is it particular to you?
Well, I think what we saw in all of the races is that education continues to be an extremely important issue and a big concern for parents. And it's not Republicans against Democrats anymore. It's just a concern for parents who want their children to look to them for decisions and want a seat at the table and want to make sure that the learning loss that is so severe that we saw in NAEP scores, which are the national scorecard, were so detrimental to Virginia's kids. And so education's going to continue to be a top issue, and particularly in those areas that folks have seen, you know, big Democrat wins, and now it's narrower and narrower. I think this is one of these topics that is no longer Republicans versus Democrats, and I think folks, independents and some Democrats, are really starting to vote with that issue in mind.
One thing we saw that this was not a good night for MAGA Republicans. Are we seeing the return of what's been known as more traditional Republicans?
What I take away from this election is that these common sense issues that are on the forefront of people around their dinner tables are the issues that we have to come with solutions to. And it is that simple. And it's what we did in Virginia last year is we brought people together around solutions to real concerns. And I just continue to encourage Republican candidates to stay focused on these most important issues: runaway inflation, crime, schools, efficiency in government. And by the way, the open border has translated into every state being a border state. And in Virginia, 76% of our heightened numbers of overdoses are from fentanyl, and we know where it's coming from. So this is where I strongly encourage Republican candidates, and now everyone, please focus on these most important kitchen table issues, because there are common sense solutions. That's what we've delivered in Virginia.
You know, you've been traveling around the country as well, campaigning for Republicans. When you go out across the country and you talk about things like schools, like the economy, things you've been talking about here in Virginia, is that portable to other places? What kind of response do you get in other states?
Absolutely, because those are the issues that they're dealing with as well. And, you know, I'm really encouraged by the strength of some of the challenges that we've seen in places like Nevada, where Sheriff Lombardo, still not decided, but hopefully be decided soon, he ran a super campaign and people trust him. And, you know, in the tight races in Oregon, I think what this reflects is the fact that, you know, non-incumbents, you know, these are challengers, are able to step up and really provide, I think, a very clear message that we'll focus on your needs and deliver for you. That's what voters want. Voters don't want happy talk. They want to trust that the people they elect are going to go do what they said they were going to do. And when it comes to getting inflation down and investing in law enforcement and having more trust reestablished in our school system and making government work for us, that's what voters want.
With the midterms over, obviously there's a lot of focus now on the presidential race in 2024. I'm not going to ask you if you're running because I don't think you'll answer me, but is there a timeline on which you might make a decision about that?
So the short answer is no. I am so focused on being the best governor in Virginia that I can be. We have a legislative session that's coming up in January. I'm so encouraged by the progress we've made in our first year, and we have ambitious goals for our second year. And I've got to get moving, and that's what we're focused on, and that's where voters elected me to put my attention, and so that's what we're gonna deliver. What's going to happen in 2024 is one of these speculative moments that, in all candor, it's distracting, and I'm not going to be distracted. I am so focused on delivering for Virginians. That's why they elected me. They elected us to deliver on our campaign promises, which we have done, and yet there's so much more to do.
But if you are able to do the things you want to do in Virginia, isn't that a message that Republicans would want to replicate in a national campaign?
Well, it's a humbling conversation because I'm new at this. And 2 years ago, I was just stepped out of my job and was trying to decide what I would do next. And was there a place for me to represent Virginians and go to work for them? And I've said many times, thank you for hiring me. And I love this job, and I go to work every day with a real sense of purpose and commitment. And that's where I'm going to keep my focus.
Governor Glenn Youngkin speaking to Fox 5's On the Hill.